Hi.
Hi, Amy. Welcome. And welcome to everyone who's listening and watching this panel discussion, Diversity and Inclusion in Leadership Roles. My name's Marcia Orr, and I'm going to be hosting this session today. So I'm going to start off asking our panelists to introduce themselves, starting with our representative from Grant Thornton.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Ella, and I work at Grant Thornton. So I work in our trainee recruitment team here at Grant Thornton, and I work with working bringing in all our apprenticeships and our graduates and our interns and placement roles, and that's kind of across all the different service lines that we recruit for. So thanks so much for joining.
Thank you very much, Ella. And our EY representative.
Hello everybody, my name is Sinead Johnson and I work at EY. I work in the schools team at EY, so just recruiting particularly for apprentices into the business. We've got several programs that we recruit for, including Career Starts, which is a work experience program as well. And I'm really happy to be on this panel today and look forward to interacting with you all.
And lastly, Framestore representative.
Hi everyone, my name's Amy and I'm the Global Director of Recruitment and Outreach for Framestore. And similarly to everyone else, we have a number of entry-level programs into Framestore, including apprenticeships, which I know we're going to talk about today.
That's great, thanks very much. So I have some questions to pose to you all, and I'm going to start with, why is diversity and inclusion important in your business? And I'm going to start with Amy.
Thank you, Marcia. So Framestore is a creative company. We make visual effects for film, TV, commercials, music videos, etc. And I think in a creative business, it's so important that we have a real mix of people with different experience, different backgrounds, different skills, different cultural references, different knowledge to bring to bear on the projects that we work on, because that's true creativity, right? When you have a real melting pot of ideas and ways to approach things. So it's massively important for us in what we do. And it's also important because everything we put out is media, and representation, as we know, in the media is so important. So it's also important from that perspective that the content that we're putting out there is relevant to our audiences all over the world. So
thank you, Amy. Sinead.
So EY is a global company. So what that means, we're all around the world, 365,000 people, 700 offices in 150 countries. So we have to be diverse from that standpoint, but it's about belonging as well. It's about making sure that your staff members feel like they belong and they can bring their uniqueness to work. We are client centered, so people will come from different businesses from around the globe, and they want us to do a service for them. We need to have, in order for us to do that justice, the job that they've given us justice, we need to have diverse thought, and that comes through having diverse teams. That creativity, that innovation, and being able to inspire and basically deliver what our clients asking us to do means that we have to have a diverse and inclusive, we have to be diverse and inclusive within the people that we recruit, but also when people are in the business, we need to make sure that people feel like they belong as well.
Thank you. And Amy, sorry, Ella.
Yeah, very, very similar in terms of what Amy and Sinead have both said as well. So yeah, it's, diversity and inclusion is heavily and actively kind of, supported from the top of our business, and it is really important to us. We want that diversity of thought, sense of belonging, and we know that, it's not just for commercial reasons. We want that inclusive culture. We know that it drives productivity as well, having an inclusive and diverse environment as well. And yeah, we've got kind of conveyors in kind of each of the top teams of our business, and they head up that activity in kind of each of the diversity strands. So yeah, it's really important for retention as well, that we find it really drives that, and we've got kind of that firm belief that we want to be inclusive in all areas.
Thanks, Ella. Just one term you just used, conveyor. What's a conveyor?
So they head up. So we have 5 strands of diversity inclusion that we we focus on, and the conveyor will kind of head up that strand, and they'll be responsible for kind of leading on kind of the different areas of that that diversity strand, and heading up kind of any activity, and making sure that we've got that focus for each of those strands.
Thanks very much. So, question to Sinead. How do you encourage diversity in your leadership roles, and what is the pathway for apprentices?
Sorry, I had myself on mute, which happens far too often. Working virtually for such a long time.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got several ways in which we encourage diversity and inclusion. So we've got our different programs at EY, but we've also got the EY Foundation, which is what we a foundation which we support and fund. And that's our independent charity in the UK. And we've conducted surveys around Black young people to better understand their employment options and things like that, and the challenges that are faced. And as a result of those sorts of research, we've also EY's committed to anti-racism in the UK as well. So there's the ways like that, so those formal ways. But in terms of the pathway for apprentices, the pathway is that they come into EY as an apprentice, and there's a very straightforward structure in which everybody is given the same opportunity. So depending upon the apprenticeship that you come into will depend on the level of trajectory, and everybody's treated the same. So for our degree apprentices, our level 6 apprenticeships, that's a 4-year course. You'll be a staff member starting from that kind of level, and then once you qualify, you'll then be moving into senior, and then you'll have access to all of the different opportunities for promotion, just as anybody else would. So it really and truly all depends on where they are in the business and what they want for themselves. People sometimes think, if I'm an apprentice, I'm not going to progress. And that's just not how it goes. There's a clear structure for every single person at EY to progress. So once you've done your qualification, if that's a level 7 master's level qualification to become a chartered accountant, you would then be able to, you become a senior, and then you can apply for roles to become a manager or and other roles as well. So there's quite a good structure at EY in which everybody can apply for roles once they're qualified. So that's how I would say that you're not going to be limiting yourself, but there's going to be lots of opportunities that are available to you, and you can use that experience that you've gained over your apprenticeship to apply for those higher levels and those higher roles. And every single time you have an interview, whether it be internal or external, you'll get that feedback, so you'll be able to develop yourself in that way as well. So even if you don't get that first job, there'll be opportunities for you to get others as well.
Thanks very much. So Amy, same question. How does it look at Framestore?
So lots of things are similar in terms of the same opportunities are available to ex-apprentices to progress their career as anybody else who's come in any other route to the business. So absolutely, that's exactly the same as Sinead just described. I would say the only thing that we've implemented at Framestore to try and, I guess, accelerate diverse talent into leadership positions, because for visual effects, the top of the tree isn't a senior people manager role, so you're not necessarily leading a team like you might be in a lot of businesses. Actually, the top of the tree is a senior creative role. It's what we call a visual effects supervisor. And so a lot of the skills that you need to get to that role are actually artistic, creative skills rather than team management skills. And so it can be quite hard to gain those skills in an accelerated way. Quite often it's simply by virtue of having seen a lot of different projects that you develop those skills. So actually we developed a visual effects supervisor apprenticeship for exactly that reason, to see if we could help actually accelerate people's careers into those leadership positions, because there's a real lack of representation at that level, and we want to try and change that. And it's actually something we've also spoken to. So as a visual effects company, our clients are Disney and Warner Brothers and Netflix, and the studios who are making projects. So we've actually spoken to our clients and said, if we had an apprentice visual effects supervisor working on your project, would you help support their learning and development? And our clients are really up for that as well. So we've taken a sort of collaborative approach to try and really push more people into those leadership roles.
Thank you very much. So, Ella, what behaviours are leaders in your organisation expected to display which promotes and encourages diversity and inclusion?
Yeah. So I guess diversity and inclusion, it's threaded in, through every conversation that we have. Leaders are challenged and targeted in their performance in creating a diverse and inclusive culture. Our interviews at the senior level include inclusion questions. That's kind of a really important part of the interview process. At that senior level, including their thinking around these areas and kind of the importance of it. When jobs are kind of allocated, so across to different team members, the challenge to make sure that we are giving jobs and allocating jobs to having diverse teams as well, so that we've got those diverse perspective across the different clients that we work with, and that we're making sure that opportunities are given through all. In terms of other behaviours, it's we have kind of, it's threaded through the promotions and making sure all of our everything is analysed, and making sure that we are displaying the right behaviours as well. Yeah, so that's the main.
Thank you. So it's kind of linking that question to the next one, and I'm throwing it open to all of you to think about. I'd like us to tell us about your company culture and how you nurture your apprentices. So starting with you, Amy, then Sinead, and then Ella.
So actually, interestingly, the visual effects industry is kind of a culture that's always been based on apprenticeships, although at the start of the industry, it wasn't necessarily formalized as an apprenticeship, but that's what it was, because obviously 30 years ago when visual effects started, there was no such thing as a qualification in visual effects of any kind. So essentially, everybody had to an apprentice. It was the only way to learn how to do the job. There was no other way. And so that concept of bringing someone in and teaching them the skills to succeed is not new to the industry. It's been part of the industry from the outset. And that's, I think, absolutely crucial to the experience of an apprentice coming in now, because the sharing of knowledge is not unusual. It's just a part of our culture. It's accepted that everyone shares their knowledge. No one's holding on to things for fear that it might jeopardize their own job or anything like that. It's very much a culture of openness and sharing and wanting to help the next generation come through. So I think that's really crucial to the experience of our apprentices, but also we try and get our apprentices on live projects, real shows, as soon as we possibly can, because again, we think it's so important that they don't spend the whole apprenticeship training to do something, that we're actually giving them the exposure to try and do something, and in a supported and mentored and coached way, of course. And when it comes to that mentoring and coaching, actually, we try to make all our mentors and coaches of apprentices near peers. So rather than that mentor or coach being a head of department or a team lead or something like that, we actually make it someone who's only a couple of years ahead of that apprentice themselves, because we find it makes that relationship much more relatable. They understand where the apprentice is coming from, the kind of questions they're going to have, but also actually we find it helps accelerate the careers of those near peers as well, because they gain experience of what it's like to mentor and coach someone, and that actually helps them in their career development too.
Thank you, Amy. Sinead.
Yeah, so very similarly, we do have a structure in place whereby every apprentice is given a buddy, and that buddy is somebody who's the year above them. So they will, they'll come into the business. Let's say they come join us in September. They'll join up. They'll be buddied up with somebody who was an apprentice the year before them. So that they have that person who they can kind of like speak to and really share their kind of concerns or anything that they, any feelings that they have, on the role. Maybe a lot of their friends have gone to university, and maybe when their first few weeks, they're like, oh, maybe I should have done that, maybe I've made a mistake. So they have that opportunity to kind of speak to that person and really kind of, they act as a sounding board, and they help them get through the first month or two when they have no idea of what anything is. How do I find this? How do I find that? So they have that relationship. And then they also have a line manager. And the line manager will be somebody who will look after them in terms of their workload and their career development as well. So the culture at EY is something that we really want people to bring their authentic self to work. So we have several employee networks, which are a chance to network and connect with other people. So we've got race ethnicity network, we've got women's network, we've got faith and belief networks, we've got LGBTQ plus network as well. So we've got all of these different networks which people can be a part of. So they can really kind of like be themselves, but also meet other people outside of their immediate teams. We do different celebrations throughout the year. So celebrating Lunar New Year, Diwali, Eid, Ramadan. So making sure that people can put in their email signatures if they are observing Ramadan and they do need, their times amended for anything. We have a flexible working policy so that people can feel free, that they can put it in their email signatures so that people know, maybe I'm responding a little bit out of your hours, but that's absolutely fine. I'm a working mum. I do the same thing. I say, if I respond to you outside of your working hours, that's fine. It's just what suits me. So we're very flexible as a company, and we want people to be able to bring themselves to work. So that's one of the ways that we nurture all staff and apprentices also.
Thank you, Sinead. Ella.
Yeah, so very similar in terms of the buddy systems that we have. So yeah, as soon as a candidate or apprentice is offered a role with us, they're allocated a buddy, and because obviously it can be really daunting, as Sinead said, if sometimes your peers might be going off to university, or so their buddy is in touch with them from the point of offer. They are invited into the office before they join, get to kind of meet their team and any queries they've got, if they might be kind of moving locations as well. And we find that buddy system is really beneficial. And then in terms of kind of our culture, we find that is really one of our kind of USPs, and we want to enable people to set them up for success and to be their true selves, in work as well. We have a reverse mentorship program that we brought in a couple of years ago, and we've now got kind of over 150 people taking part in that reverse mentorship program, which is brilliant. And we have increased coaching, for our apprentices that apply through our recruitment process, which I know you might come on to shortly, where we kind of give them, increased coaching calls throughout the process to ensure that they feel supported and to, as I say, set them up for success as well.
Thank you. So yeah, a good link. So in addition to formal training, what support and mentoring do you offer to aid success? And I know, Ella, you've just talked about reverse mentoring and that. So Amy, to yourself, what support and mentoring do you provide for Framestore?
Yeah, so we have a number of different levels of that, really. So, we've all talked about the sort of immediate buddy or mentor that an apprentice has. But then in addition, at Framestore, they will also have someone who is more senior, who's there as and when they need that support. They also have support and mentoring from within our training and HR teams. So we have a number of people within those teams who are responsible for our apprentices and will support them perhaps with things that maybe aren't work related, for example, or any sort of additional needs that they might have in those areas. And then we also have a network of apprentices across the industry. So one of the things that's, I think, unique about visual effects, games and animation is that we actually recruit our apprentices together. We don't recruit them as, although we employ them as individual employers, we actually recruit them as an industry. And so from day one, they're a cohort of apprentices across multiple companies, and we very much treat them that way, and we encourage them to form a network and a cohort, and we encourage them to spend time together outside of work, and obviously when they're doing their off the job training, they're all together as a cohort. So they also have that support network as well of other people going through the experience at different companies within the industry that they can share with and that they can talk to. So there are lots of different levels of how we support our apprentices across our business.
Thank you. Sinead, how does your recruitment and selection process include diversity at EY?
Okay, yeah, great question. So we've got reasonable adjustments, or just adjustments, sorry, at each stage of the application that can be requested, and we ask applicants to be open with us if they do need those adjustments. So, you know, if they need extra time, then they can request that. So you can request, you can have 25% extra time given as standard if you need it. But if you feel like you need more, then we can take your application offline and we can give you extra time based on how much you think you need. So if you think you need 50% extra time, you know, for a variety of reasons, then we can do that. If you maybe have like a hearing impairment or visually impaired, we can take parts of your assessment offline as well, and we can make sure that you're fully supported. We offer training for all of our assessors for our EY experience days as well on how to deal with the various, you know, conditions that, you know, students might have, those disabilities, whether they're physical disabilities or maybe there's other reasons why they might not be able to participate in the same way as others. And then we also have got events that are aligned to diversity and inclusion as well. So we go out on campuses, we go to schools, and we have we have 2 diversity champions in the student recruitment team who are actively always talking to us about diversity and inclusion, how we can make sure that we're better and doing the right things in the market, because let's be honest, we're not always getting things right, and we're always striving for that best practice. So those diversity and inclusion champions, they'll make sure that we're on the straight and narrow, and if we do ever have questions because we don't know what we're doing in a certain setting, they will give us advice.
Thank you. Ella, what advice would you give a student starting an apprenticeship with their sights set on a leadership role?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say to really just ask questions, get involved as much as you can. You know, we have so many different kind of initiatives that you can get involved in here at Grant Thornton, and kind of, you know, we have so much coaching that people can take part in. I would say, you know, see what you can, you know, take part in as much as you can and ask those questions. What can you do to develop your career if you want to work in that leadership role and eventually kind of progress? You know, we have quite a structured pathway for our apprentices, in terms of, you know, relating to their studies, you know, be that for the ACA qualification or the tax qualifications. So I'd really advise to get involved in what you can and be enthusiastic, and, you know, show people that you want to progress and that you really want to you know, develop your career.
Thank you. Amy, same question.
Pretty much the same answer. I think, you know, just to, I guess, add to what Ella said, the apprentices for us that have accelerated their careers the fastest towards leadership roles are the ones who undertook the learning that was required of the apprenticeship, of course, but as Ella said, we're always asking those questions about what else could I be learning? So yes, okay, I understand I've got to have this knowledge to pass my apprenticeship, and that's great, but what else can I be doing? Where are there other areas that I could be learning that will help me beyond the apprenticeship? So it's definitely the apprentices who ask questions, who engage, and who want to already push themselves beyond what's maybe being expected of them at that level. So they're definitely the apprentices that we've seen move the fastest towards leadership roles.
Thank you very much. So
Can
I'm
I
conscious.
add to that as well?
Yeah,
Sorry,
sure,
just because I think yes, network outside of your immediate circle and your team that you're based in is a good way, but also LinkedIn is a really great way of making connections with people in other teams and celebrating other people's success. And one thing that is really, really crucial, I think, for anybody who wants a leadership role is empathy, having empathy and understanding of other people's circumstances. I can't tell you how many people I meet who are empathetic and at EY, and it's a really great quality that I think every single leader should have. It's not just about what you can do, the skills that you bring to a role and how many people you know. It's having that empathy and being able to really relate to other people as well. Sorry.
Thanks for that. That the good point made about leadership roles and any relationship building requires another set of skills that aren't just technical. So this is the last question that I'm going to pose to you all that I'm going to push you for an answer on as we're going towards the close of this session. Any advice or tips on how to approach the application process and what to expect? So Sinead, starting with yourself, then Amy, then Ella.
So my top tip and my top piece of advice is to do your research. There's so many different roles that you can go into as an apprentice. Think less about the qualification and think more about what you want your end goals to be. So we've got a range of different opportunities at EY. Do your research, go on the website. You're attending a session like this, so you're already halfway there. But look on the website and really delve deep into what it is that we actually do and think about which role would suit you the best. And my next piece of advice is to practice at the online assessment. So we've got a numerical reasoning test within ours. I know that's not standard practice that people do numerical reasoning tests at school, but there's loads of free sites that you can find a numerical reasoning test. You do not have to pay for them, they are free. And my final piece of advice is to attend as many things as possible, talk to lots of people, and think about why that company as well. Ask those people, why do you work there? What is it about the company, why you like it? And that might help you to think about whether or not that's something that you want to go for. And so my last piece of advice is it's a numbers game. Whereas with you at university, you pay for the privilege. It's £9,500. I'm like, yeah, come to us. That's fine. With an apprenticeship, we pay you. So you do have to apply for a lot more of them. You get 5 choices at university. Pick at least 10 for apprenticeships, but do that research and really make sure you're making a very informed decision.
Thank you. Amy?
So for me, obviously, our application process is probably quite different because we're a creative company. So, we ask people to submit some form of creative work. Obviously, it's an apprenticeship. We don't expect you to have any visual effects experience necessarily, but we do expect more from your application than I like watching Netflix on a weekend. We expect you to be able to demonstrate that you've gone a bit beyond that. So we expect you to show us things that you make, and that can be anything. That can be I go out on a weekend with my mobile phone and I make short films. It can be I edit videos for my local cinema or whatever it is, or it could be that I make YouTube content or anything, whatever it is that you make, it doesn't matter. Show it to us and explain to us why you're passionate about making things. That's the really important thing for us in our apprentices. The rest of the skills we can teach you, but we need you to have that genuine interest and that genuine desire to create first. So that's really, really important with our applications. And then exactly as Sinead just said, we will ask you as part of the application, tell us about a film or a TV project or a game or whatever that you've seen or played recently that really spoke to you, and tell us why. So again, we're trying to get to the nuts and bolts of why this company, why this opportunity, why are you applying to this.
Thank you very much. And Ella?
Yeah, very, very similar. It's really wanting to see what's motivated you to want to work in this sector. And I know it's hard, isn't it, when you're at, you're at school and you're not sure. A lot of people aren't sure what they want to do, but we do want to see that you've done that research and that you have that understanding of what it's going to involve and kind of why you've got kind of skills that would match this sort of area. I definitely agree, practice is brilliant, and even doing some practice to you know, into the mirror or with some friends on and kind of maybe some interview questions, because it can be really daunting. And I'd also sort of add as well, I know it's, as I sort of said, that it's hard to know what you want to do, but I do think people are changing careers. And, you know, even if you do, you know, if you do kind of go into accountancy for 5 years or 6 years, you know, people do change careers. And, you know, you're not kind of, you're not limited if this is kind of, you know, what you do decide to do.
Thanks very much, ladies, for your valuable words of wisdom that I hope everyone listening will take on board. I'd like to encourage you all to go to the Apprenticeship Hub chat room, so you can continue the conversation and talk to other people. You've heard some really good advice. Don't worry that you don't need to plan your whole life out, your whole career out now, but this is the first step. And good luck to you all.
Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.